This
Albert.
conference will now be recorded.
Excellent. So I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. Welcome to Public Information and Education meeting and special meeting of the Board of Directors. Director Alvarez, our chair, is not here at the moment, so I will, Director Williams, our chair, is not here today, so I will conduct the meeting, and Director Alvarez may join us later. We have a quorum, at least, to proceed, right, General Manager?
That is correct, Director Houston.
Is there any public comment?
There are no public comments that I've been made aware of, no, sir.
Okay, let's see. Presentations, I don't see any.
Nope, we have no presentations.
And there's nothing on our action calendar, so we can proceed to the information calendar
Yes.
with the members of the board who are present. So go ahead, Pat.
Okay, thank you, Director Houston. We do have a number of items today, 6, I believe, on the information calendar. The first of which is an update on our outreach program. It's pretty broad. Our public information specialist 1, Melissa Buendia, will be giving us an update and also touching on things like the Water Harvest Festival and some thoughts on that as well, but covering broadly what's going on with the outreach program, which has been going very well. So there is Melissa. I'll hand it over to Melissa to give us our report.
Okay. Great, thank you, General Manager, and good morning, members of the committee and board. Yes, as Patrick mentioned, I will be providing a summary of the public outreach programs that have been conducted this past fall in 2020, as well as a status report on the current 2021 winter programming, a small preview of what's to come in spring, and seeking some feedback in terms of some of our future program plans. So starting on packet page 3, just a little bit of background. Due to the pandemic, all in-person outreach programs transitioned to online webinar sessions in the summer of 2020 with our pilot program called Summer Splash, which is a virtual water education series. So with the success of Summer Splash, staff built upon that foundation and rebranded it to something a little bit more evergreen and called it Water Lab, a digital learning experience. So one of the features of Water Lab are the Know Your H2O webinars, which were previously known as the Lunch and Learn webinars. And the name was changed as a result of moving the webinar times from the lunchtime afternoon segment to the evening times at 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. So these live webinars are staff-led and cover a variety of local and regional water topics, including where your water comes from, water supply diversity, recycled water virtual tours of our facility in El Segundo, as well as a water use efficiency class. So as of today, we have hosted a total of 7 Know Your H2O webinars, and we've served up to 298 community members. So tables 1 and 2 summarize the fall and winter sessions for Water Lab, for your Know Your H2O webinars. So staff is actually slated to officially announce our Water Lab spring session later this month, which will include another round of your Know Your H2O webinars previewed in table 3. And then continuing along to packet page 4, another one of our Water Lab offerings is the West Basin Cares pilot program, also known as West Basin Cares. So West Basin's promotional item program transitioned into this opt-in care package distribution program to support local communities and to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. So it is voluntary participation and it's offered to service area residents that attend at least one Know Your H2O webinar. And as of today, we've distributed 80 care packages to our community members. So table 4 on packet page 4 outlines the 2 different types of packages participants can opt into. So both types include 2 different sized reusable masks, one that's more on a kid's or a youth size, the other being larger for adult face masks, hand sanitizer with a carabiner for easy travel, a West Basin Cares postcard in order to encourage continued connection and communication with one another even during these times. And all of that is housed in a mesh pouch that can easily be stored in the car, in your backpack, purse, or etc. So that is the West Basin Cares program. And moving along to the Speakers Bureau or Community Updates program, staff remains ready to vet any community organization requests that from the Board of Directors for guest speaking engagements. So these can be fulfilled via video conference or webinar platforms. The one that we currently use for our outreach programs is GoToWebinar. Currently, there are no speaking engagements that have been requested for the fiscal year of 2020 to 2021. But again, we remain poised to vet any of these requests if they come through. Moving along to our facility tours program, staff also remains ready to vet any requests that come in for virtual tours of the Edward C. Little Water Recycling Facility. So staff actually conducted a virtual tour for the American Water Works Association Education Symposium back in summer of 2020, I believe it was in August, and since has been invited to conduct another live virtual tour for their Spring Education Symposium in March 2021, so just a week and a half from now. So, and we are also currently in the tour planning stages for a tour for the LEDWP staff and customers as well as a two-parter tour there. Great, so that covers packet page 4. If we can move along to packet page 5. Another program or series of programs that are housed under or that we like to promote under the Water Lab program is the Water Use Efficiency program. So staff continues to work with Water Policy and Resources Development Team, South Bay Environmental Services Center, as well as other external subject matter experts to facilitate and or share with service area residents the availability of the following programs in an online capacity. So the Rain Barrel Distribution Program, which just launched recently, the firescaping workshops that West Basin is working to host in-house. So the district will actually be leading an in-house firescaping webinar focused on the Palos Verdes Peninsula and unincorporated areas in the peninsula that will take place on Wednesday, April 21st at 6 p.m. And Director Williams is available for that, so we thank him for that. And we're also currently in the preliminary stages of working with the City of Malibu to come up with dates for the webinar or firescaping webinar for that area as well. So
Okay,
Gus will actually.
Can I interrupt
Yes.
you one sec, Melissa, really fast? Just on the one for the 21st of April, I know we talked about before, but you'll make sure you invite the whole board just so they have a link if they want to be on it, correct? Okay, and the same for
correct.
any future. Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem. Yes, and just on that note, Gus will be providing a more detailed update during the Conservation Programs update item, which is, I believe, item 6E. And I'm happy to assist with answering any other questions regarding the status of the workshops during that item as well. So in addition, staff continues to promote and include the following monthly metropolitan hosted programs under the Water Lab umbrella as well. So that includes the California Friendly and Native Landscape Training, the Grass Removal and Grass Garden Transformation Workshop, as well as the Landscape Design Seminars. So that actually concludes my updates regarding Water Lab specifically. If there are any other questions about this section, I'm happy to answer them, but other than that, I can move along to talking about water harvest.
Okay, let's hold on then. So colleagues, are there any questions for Melissa? No. Director Gray?
No, thank you.
Okay. I want to say one thing. I think, no, these are really good numbers on participation in light of everything. And did you guys see, like, because now you're doing those in the evening, are you getting better participation rates in the evening with folks?
That's actually a great question. We actually hosted a water supply diversity webinar last night. Amy and myself were on that webinar and led that class, and we actually garnered 112 attendees for that class. So it was
Really?
a pretty well attended webinar. And typically we average around 30 to 40 folks on these webinars. So this one was a nice surprise to get about 112 folks interested in that webinar. So it was great.
Oh, wow. One last question. Do you all know where the folks are coming from? I mean, when they register?
Yes, so we are able to download from utilizing our GoToWebinar platform. We're able to download those who register and those who actually attend, and we can, when they register, they input where in the service area they're located, so by city, but yes.
Okay, cool. So you guys get that. So obviously people are participating from all around our service area, not outside. Maybe some are, but
We always get some folks that are outside of our service area. A lot of times too, we see that I see other water professionals in the industry from different agencies that are interested in attending each other's outreach programs of this nature. So we do get our service area members included, of course, as well.
okay. No, good. We'll keep it up. Okay, so go on to the next item you were going to discuss, water harvest.
Yes, thank you. Yes, so on packet page 5, you'll see the last section there on water harvest. So as most know, West Basin typically hosts its annual Water Harvest Festival in October as an opportunity to educate the public and about local and regional water issues and introduce the community to West Basin programs, as well as provide tours of our facility in El Segundo. So additionally, staff typically begins its vendor procurement processes and event planning during the spring season each year, hence why I am circling back with the board during this time in preparation for a signature event that we typically hold in the fall in October. And last year, due to the pandemic, of course, the district canceled the festival. And due to the ongoing nature of the pandemic and current vaccination predictions, the success of reaching herd immunity for the South Bay communities, and what could be a slower return for in-person educational instructions for schools, staff is expressing caution with regards to an in-person event and is looking for director feedback and input regarding plans for the 2021 water harvest event. So I will provide a few updates before opening it up for discussion and providing feedback. So staff acknowledges that hosting an in-person event in the fall in full confidence of the public, as well as its partners, and of course staff safety, would present a number of liabilities and challenges and most likely would not be possible. However, with the foundation of the Water Lab outreach program, as well as the continued popularity of the district school-age education programs, it does demonstrate that there is a continuation of some level of interest in virtual programming of some kind, as well as staff's increased familiarity with using online platforms to host virtual community gatherings of this nature. So last year, I shared with the board a list of agencies and other organizations that we typically either partner with that also host large community events. So after polling a number of similar agencies and organizations, here is a summary of their thoughts regarding events in 2021. So after touching base with WRD, they typically host their groundwater festival in May. At this point, there has been no formal decision that has been made about their event. And I also did a little bit of research in terms of this Culver City Fiesta La Bayona, which is typically hosted in August, and then Taste of Soul hosted in Inglewood in around the same time as Water Harvest in October. No formal announcements have been made for those events as well. And in my outreach planning efforts, a number of organizations that we usually work with during the month of April on Earth Month activities and events, no plans for the folks that I was able to connect with are hosting in-person events, although they are considering, altering some opportunities to be available online virtually. I also was able to poll the Aqua Communications Committee to potentially find some intel from agencies statewide. And here's a summary of what I was able to find. No large in-person events were planned for this calendar year of 2021. And majority of the folks who did respond anticipate revisiting the idea of any in-person events in early 2022, so spring 2022. And from those who responded, there were 1 to 2 folks that did mention that they are looking into some sort of drive-through or drive-in event for their agency. So with all of this said, I'd like to gather feedback from the board regarding their direction on this year's Water Harvest Festival. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Melissa, and thank you for the thoroughness of that. I'll open up to my colleagues. What are your thoughts, at least at this point, regarding water harvest this fall? See Director Deere.
I think we have to keep it on hold. I don't see, it's not quite time to announce a public event.
Okay, thank you. Director Gray?
All right, thank you, Director Houston. I guess my first thought is, if we did something, what are our options? And, perhaps staff can come back with what options we have, because there are virtual events, and it looks like we probably would be in this mode of pandemic for the rest of the year to some degree. So maybe staff can come back with some options, unless I missed those this morning in your report. And thank you so much for your report this morning. But it seems like most organizations have put it on hold. Perhaps they're looking at their options too. So perhaps the discussion can be had later on about what options we have, and then we can kind of make a decision moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Gray. Obviously, just have 3 of us here today, but when is usually the decision point finalized? This is March. So when would you need to decide what we were actually going to do, whether that's in real person or virtual, to make key decisions?
Right. So typically in May is when I start the process of the procurement process. So that would be bringing that, and that procurement process being the bringing on an event production company of some kind to help in the implementation and planning of the event. And that's for an in-person event.
Okay.
And to answer Director Gray's question as well, I'm happy to, if the board would like to pursue or explore a hybrid format or fully virtual format, I'm happy to circle back at a later committee just to provide some options. I know that I've been doing some preliminary research on different virtual online platforms, but I can, gather more intel and see what options are available to us. I think it's also perfect timing given the budget cycle to get some of those numbers and see what it would look like to host something in a virtual format if that's the wish of the board.
Okay, great. And when we canceled last year, did we already have somebody procured? And okay, we had not gotten that far. Oh, that's right. It was around this time last year. Okay. So we hadn't even gone out and had anybody retain or paid any money, etc.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
So I was thinking about this earlier when I saw it was on the agenda, and it's a tough call, I still think, because it's still a little early in the year, number one, but number two, we do see that people are starting to reopen things. The governor's starting to loosen up restrictions. I just got, an email here with an update that is now more people are getting vaccinated, that, the return to some parts of normal life is coming. The event's not until October, so it does give us quite a bit of time. I personally feel a lot of people, if they feel safe, are going to want to be out and doing things. So I think first and foremost, we got to look at what are the county restrictions, right? So at the end of the day, this is probably not even our own call. So that would be number one, is what is the county allowing us to do? But the good thing for us is we don't do this till October. I understand groundwater harvest in March, or excuse me, May. I don't see that happening. But so what I think we should do is can you bring this back next month again to the committee and discuss and look at the option of the hybrid too, because maybe this year we'd want to do the online or if we do anything in person, but so we just can have options. And like you also mentioned, is any, rough cost estimates, whatever, because that needs to be talked about for our budget process, of course, right?
Right.
But lastly, then I would love it that way. Hopefully, all 5 colleagues will be present, that we can have a little more discussion. So I'm reserving all judgment, but I think we should just keep everything on the table another month. That would give you all direction. And the worst case scenario, probably do something online, which I know we opted not to last year, but that may be something at this point, if we think we can get the engagement for the cost. So that would be my recommendation. Do any of the colleagues have any other thoughts, questions?
No, but Director Easton, I have a comment,
Okay.
if I may. Yeah, just the budgetary part of it is important. This current year, we did put in $30,000 for the virtual event as a placeholder, not sure exactly where it might go. We had to do that earlier in the budget season, so it would be timely for us to talk about it next month, and we can make a decision at that point, and depending on which way we decide to go, and we could have some monies placed in the budget if that's the way the board wants to go in April-May timeframe. I just want to share that.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, because virtual is going to cost some sort of money, probably not as much. And then, of course, you guys might be looking at whatever giveaways and other things you do that cost some funds. But I also just feel like, things are starting to pick back up, and there might be a chance that we could do something in person for those who feel comfortable. But let's play it by ear, and let's also see what the full board decides. So I think that's probably pretty clear. Yeah, Melissa?
Yes, that's great. I will plan to circle back next month with more further discussion.
Director Houston?
Oh, yes, Director Gray, go ahead.
Thank you. I would also recommend that when you bring back options based on the direction today, that you attach dollars to it, what the cost would be. If we're looking at a hybrid, what that cost would be. If we're looking at a total virtual, what that cost would be. And I know this event usually happens in October, and we're kind of speculating that things will open up, and they are opening up to some degree. We assume that it will be more open in October. But, we still have to be, cautious of what the cost is. But General Manager said we may have to look at additional money. But the point is, attach costs to whatever recommendations you come back with, and maybe even giving the options of folks, which would be the virtual, because some folks who may have the vaccine and feel comfortable coming out may not come out, but they may come out. I don't know. But we never really know what's going to happen in October. So my point is attach some cost to it. That's my recommendation. Thank you very much.
Will do. Thank you.
Yeah, I would, thank you, Director. I'd echo that. I understand it might be ballpark. And the other good thing, and as the General Manager said, whatever we end up deciding, if we just park some money in that for the budget, now of course, we don't have to move it up or down later potentially, but if we just potentially park some money in it in our budget discussions later in the next couple months. And lastly, by the way, when you come back, why don't you make it, Mike, a more standalone item when you do that on the committee next time? Sure. And also give us what the updates at that time are from the county and the CDC and everybody, because that's, another month, things are changing so quickly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, let's see. We'll move on to the next item.
Okay, thank you for those great input, great discussion. We'll follow up on all those items and have that as a standalone item on the water harvest issue at the next meeting. Yeah, so our next item is 6B, and this is our water education program update, which is pretty standard. But to give us that update today, we have our education coordinator, Janelle Ankan. Oh, there's Janelle. How are you? Janelle's going to give us. I'm doing wonderful, thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Director Houston and members of the board and committee. I will be covering agenda item 6B, which gives the board a quarterly update of our water education programs. I would like to move forward onto page 10 of the agenda packet. Thank you. Let's actually move on to page 11 for our report overview. On the bottom of this page, you can see a thank you note from a 4th grade student from Our Lady of Guadalupe School in Hermosa Beach, highlighting the recycled water process all the way down to the purple signs used in our community. And again, going over our report overview, I will be providing some updated data and information for our treatment facility field trips, our Water is Life art contest, Solar Cup, career presentations, and a drop in the bucket classroom assemblies. And I'll be stopping after each program to see if there are any questions from the board and committee. So moving on to page 12 of the agenda packet for our virtual field trips. These are available to educators in West Basin service area as well as the city of Torrance. So this page shows a preliminary participation summary across each West Basin division, which generally follows the typical patterns we see each year. The only important note is that we have seen a considerable increase in engagement with Division 4, which has been a benefit of distance learning because we're now able to reach schools that are typically too far to bring down to El Segundo for an in-person field trip. For example, we just conducted a tour last Tuesday for Sycamore School in Malibu and are scheduled for 3 Malibu high classes later this month. As of today, we've served nearly 1,800 students from 75 virtual field trips. We have about 35 more field trips left for the school year, and we have actually reached our capacity for the 2020 to 2021 school year, so reservations are now closed. We are maintaining a wait list of interested teachers in case of cancellations to accommodate those requests. We will be providing a more comprehensive participation summary at the end of the school year, likely in June or July. On the next page, we have another.
One question, Janelle.
Sure.
One question, just how many students typically, I mean, it's a normal class, right? How many students typically on each of these field trips?
Typically, it's about one class, which is around 30 students. The main difference between our in-person field trips is that in person, we typically bring in 2 classes at a time. For virtual field trips, we limit it to 1 class at a time just so that we can maximize interaction and engagement with the students.
Okay, great, thank you.
Great, thank you. So again, on this page, we have another thank you note from a teacher at Our Lady of Guadalupe, again, highlighting what students learned from the field trip. Again, you can see purple signs and some jars that we use as part of our educational props. We look forward to serving a total of approximately 3,000 students before the end of the school year in June and are planning to be flexible as some educators in our service area begin to plan for hybrid instruction. Are there any questions on virtual field trips?
Any questions?
Alrighty, so moving on to page 14 of the agenda packet, we are preparing for the deadline of West Basin's Local Water is Life Student Art Contest with our timeline on the page. Our deadline is next Friday, March 19, and directors and sponsors will again be invited to vote in late April through an online survey, and all winners will be selected before the May board meeting. In order to encourage participation during the current distance learning environment, the district launched the Art Tip Tuesday video series on YouTube, offered live online classroom art lessons, and revised the art paper size to 8.5 by 11, which is a standard paper size most students should have access to during remote learning. Moving on to the next page, you can see an example of our program promotion, which includes a press release, which was shared across multiple news outlets, including Patch and a web banner on the homepage of the district's website. Not shown here are a number of social media posts that were shared by a number of pages, including the El Segundo Unified School District and the City of Manhattan Beach. Moving on to page 16, you can see our playlist of our Art Tip Tuesday videos that help students understand our guidelines and how to get creative with supplies they may already have at home. This first video is actually our top viewed video on our YouTube page with nearly 1,000 views as of this morning. Moving on to the next page for a preliminary summary of art lessons where I have updated data for our art lessons. Education staff Zooms or joins a virtual classroom and provides instruction on the art contest and a drawing activity. Here you can see Ms. Brown's 5th grade class from Ambler Avenue Elementary School, where we all drew some turtles and they're holding their papers up to their screens. To date, we have completed 58 programs serving over 1,300 students with more scheduled this week, 2 more scheduled this week, which will bring our total to 60 programs before the deadline next Friday. As of today, we have received about 77 submissions. While we are expecting a smaller amount of submissions due to this unique learning environment, we typically receive the bulk of submissions on the contest deadline, which is again next Friday. We are optimistic about the engagement we've already received on social media and through art lessons, and overall, many students and teachers are pretty grateful that we are still offering this competition during this difficult school year. Are there any questions for the art contest?
Any questions? I do have one question, because I know you said 77 submissions, so it's lower, but just in general, I mean, these classes working with the teachers, are you in that side getting more participation than what we were getting in the past with some of the school districts, or not?
In terms of teachers participating in art lessons, or in terms of teachers requiring their students to participate in the contest?
Probably both. I mean, I just know we've had our struggles with our school districts, especially as the teachers, certain ones retire. But I mean, are you getting, did it seem like this year maybe because they were looking for all kinds of ways to engage their students that they're more interested in this, or what?
Yes, I think that teachers generally are really looking for unique ways to engage their students, especially since they're on their computer 4 hours a day with just one person. They're really missing out on that engagement with people outside of their regular classmates, and they don't have that much interaction this year. So I do find that lots of teachers have been really receptive with any synchronous programming, such as our virtual field trips and our art lessons. The only challenge this year is that overall, teachers are also pretty overwhelmed with the challenges of distance learning. They're also potentially having to rethink their existing curricula to be in hybrid versions, so both in person and online. So typically, the teachers that do participate in our art contests make it a required assignment for their students. This year, they're transferring that responsibility over to the parents, who might not have time to think about mailing or taking a photo and emailing their submissions to me. So while we are seeing more engagement on the side of the schools, we understand that it's not an immediate priority for the teachers or parents to submit submissions at this time.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so moving on to page 18 of the agenda packet to review Solar Cup. Again, due to cancellation of last year's events, we are sponsoring the same 4 teams as last year. That includes Lawndale High, Lenox Academy, Maricosta High, and Palos Verdes Peninsula High School. West Basin is sponsoring 4 of the 21 participating high school teams in Southern California, and we represent 1 of the 9 participating member agencies, which again demonstrates our presence within this program. The program officially launched last month in February and will run until May of this year. And the photo on this page features Penn High from a social media post that we had in January that recognized all of our teams. Moving on to the next page to review some program challenges that students will participate in, which includes utilizing online engineering applications such as Blender and Onshape, participating in career webinars, and even a virtual boat racing challenge. So please note this is not a monetary sponsorship as it is every year, but instead we'll be providing in-kind staff time and support to the teams throughout these challenges. And if there are no questions for Solar Cup, I'll move on to discuss our water industry career presentations on page 20.
Okay, any questions? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So again, to continue offering career and technical support to schools within our service area, teachers can still request a presentation that highlights water-related career paths for their students. In addition to the video series and guest panel on October 15 of last year that supported nearly 100 individuals, West Basin continues to encourage students to consider fulfilling careers in the water industry. We continue to accommodate special requests for these career-focused presentations and also share our pre-recorded staff featurette videos for teachers and school groups. So as of last month, we've served nearly 150 individuals through 3 career-focused presentations. Are there any questions about this slide?
I just had a question, especially the top one. So is this like something in the workday or in the evening for the students?
The water industry careers and guests panel. That first one, so this took place in October of last year. This program was actually in partnership with the Water Replenishment District. It was our first one, a pilot program. This particular one took place during the school day, so at around 10 a.m. If we were to pursue further versions of this pilot, again, we'd have to deal with logistics of bringing on students on after the school day or potentially on a Saturday.
Oh, okay, I understand. So That might be a good one to keep up a partnership like that. That's a good idea.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to the next page of the agenda packet for a drop in the bucket virtual classroom assembly programs. So again, this is a pilot program offered in partnership with the Wildwoods Foundation that aims to provide live online interaction and teach students about their water resources. I have some updated data for this preliminary participation summary. So to date, we've served over 350 students through 15 programs and have an additional 7 programs scheduled, which will serve approximately 200 more students. Again, we look forward to continuing to promote and share this program with teachers throughout our service area. And in addition to these programs that I've presented today, I'd also like to note that our Teach and Test Coastal Advocacy program in partnership with the Surfrider South Bay continues to be on hold, which has resulted in a cost savings for us of about $9,000. And we do look forward to restarting the program once it's safe to bring back those high school students to in-person events. Education staff plans to regularly update the board regarding these programs as they continue to be implemented throughout the school year. As I mentioned earlier, many of our districts are considering going back to in-person instruction within the next month. For example, I've done some research. Lawndale Elementary School District is currently taking a survey of parents and how they feel about reopening. Manhattan Beach Unified has already brought back some younger students. And again, Malibu has brought back younger students and is planning on bringing back older secondary students back to school this month. So our staff continues to support these teachers through this transition period by being flexible with possible reschedule requests and still providing these programs as an exciting change to their distance learning curricula. Our education programs are also able to transition to in-person when school districts, our agency, and local health officials deem it safe to do so. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to take questions about any of these programs if there are any. Thank you.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Janelle. Any questions from Director Deere or Director Gray? Director
Yes.
Deere says no. Director Gray, I hear your voice.
Yes, thank you. Do we have a breakdown by district or by service area where the participation for these programs are coming from?
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes, Director Gray, I'll plan to provide more comprehensive participation summary at the end of the school year. So once we close out the school year and are able to finalize the numbers for this, I'll provide a breakdown by age and by division.
Yeah, that would be very helpful because, and how do you, you probably explained all of this, but for example, on page 11, your water industry career presentations, how do you make a decision where you're going to do these? Well, you're doing them by Zoom, right? Obviously.
Yes. Yes.
So I would like to know where the participants are coming from when you do the Zoom meetings on these water career industry program, because it's really important to me that it's the participants are really throughout our service area, right? And so that would tell me about how you outreach in terms of getting the information out so that people can access the information that you have. So I'm particularly interested in this one. So I'd like more detail about that, how you do outreach, where the participants are coming from. And once we look at where they're coming from, then how do we make sure that it's more even or more access to everyone in terms of trying to get them involved in knowing what's going on in the industry. And but that's my comment certainly on that one. The rest of them, absolutely, we need to look at how they're disseminated, how they're accessed. So, but my point is, let's first look at where they're coming from, and then secondly, how do you do the outreach to make sure they're more equitable in terms of getting people involved? Thank you.
Yes, I can answer that question, Director Gray, and thank you for asking that. So really our water industry career presentation started off as kind of a pilot program, again, that partnership with WRD for that October 15 panel. From that panel, and I promoted that panel by reaching out to our middle and high school teachers, career technical educators within our service area. as well as our college and career classes within the service area. So through that, we were able to get a number of participants in this. The panel was actually available to everyone in our district. As for the other smaller presentations that we have conducted, it actually those requests arose from teachers who heard about the panel but weren't able to send their students over to the actual panel. So again, these presentations are currently offered by request to all schools within our service area, and we are actually planning to promote water industry career presentations as part of our spring water lab promotion. So again, this is available to everyone as long as they request it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the explanation, but I really would like a more detailed written response in terms of how do you said all the schools were knew about it, but I'd like to really see how you did all of that. I mean, what the steps were. I know that you initially was a pilot with WRD, but I really would like to look at the steps you've taken to do this particular program. I'm really interested in this. So I'd like to come back with a report on how you did it, and certainly the numbers in terms of where the participants are coming from. And if they're not pretty spread out through our area, then come back with a way of trying to make sure that the information is out there. I know everything is on Zoom, so it's a little easier to access, but why aren't more people accessing, teachers or whomever, students accessing Zoom meetings, because they're much easier than coming in person to an event. So I'm really interested in how to get to better numbers. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I do see Amy Rocha has joined on the camera. So go ahead, Amy.
Yes, thank you so much. I just want to add and respond to Director Gray and you, Director Houston, and good morning, directors. This is definitely something we'll bring back and are going to look at and examine. Again, as Janelle mentioned, this is was a pilot, and it's offering us a lot of insights and opportunities. I know, Director Houston, you mentioned it, be nice to kind of see this through and see what else we can do. And we are actively looking at, careers as, this next offering for the education and outreach team. So definitely see the potential in that and have some ideas, and we'll be taking that into consideration as we plan our programming for the next fiscal year. So this is excellent timing to kind of digest that and share some of the insights.
Okay, thank you. Director Gray, did you have any other question or comment on that?
No, just that I would like more of a detailed report if that's okay with the chair to come back with that to this committee.
Yeah, I think that would be really good to give us a like a table or chart or what have you, and show how it all panned out. And a thought on that, and Amy, you made me think of it, but look, as we return to real life, I know a lot of these programs then will come back to being in person at some point next year or whatever. And then of course we also get into that bind where there's going to be some that just don't get the same experience or exposure that right now they happen to get virtually. So I do think it's something in the long run we probably have to think about, is maybe we always do certain events with a virtual option. Of course, knowing that on the back end, the other side, they have to engage. Does a classroom, still do things virtually at some point, even from their classroom? But can you guys zoom into a classroom and do a presentation, and they don't have to drive all the way down to the plant, things like that. So I think first and foremost, everyone's changed and looked at new reality of ways to do things. So I think we should keep it on the table in the future at some point, which is awesome. Okay. And then lastly, another thought would be maybe in our education outreach, maybe reach out to El Camino College, because we do focus a lot on, K through 12, but perhaps the local community college, there would be an option to, say, hey, we've got this program, if you all are interested in whatever class that might jump on. That would be cool, because again, the water community needs to expose people to this career path And it's not just for the engineers, but it's for operators, and it's for communicators, finance people, etc. So I'm just thinking outside the box right now. I think that might be a good opportunity for a future school year to look at talking to El Camino College.
Thank you for the feedback, and I'll also speak to all of our virtual programs in a general sense, because the expectation across all education coordinators for other water agencies also is that we'll never go back to education programs as they were in March of last year. We do plan to implement our lessons learned throughout this year and implement it through our program strategies for next school year. And the benefit of this is that, again, we've already developed a successful 1-hour virtual field trip program that we can zoom into an in-person program. Typically, we do see less participation from middle and high school students because it's difficult to bring students out for multiple class periods at a time. So now we can really focus in within that 1-hour class period and make it more equitable, make it more accessible across all age groups and all locations within our service area.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And lastly, by the way, that if you do something like that helps expose more classrooms in parts, especially like these far away places, right? Malibu and even Culver City, and they don't have to take half a day to come down to the facilities. But then separately you say, well, for those who are interested, we have an upcoming in-person on a Saturday tour that you and your family or whoever could come to, and here's how you'd sign up. So that might actually drive more participation for the ones who are very interested on the weekend at some point to come visit. So it really combines both programs on the community outreach side. So I think at this point we all understand now we're thinking in a totally different way. So I'm just putting ideas out there for you guys, but I know you adapted very well to this, and I see the tremendous amount of work you did. So thank you. Please know that.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Director Gray and Director Deere. Some good comments. Okay, so let's move to the next part.
Okay, so yeah, great comments, great input, and we will follow up on those requests from the committee members. And thank you again for the input. Our next item is 6C on the agenda. This is the communications update and media report, and we have our great duo here of Amy Roach, our manager of communications, and Deanne Blackman, our public information specialist 1. I think, Amy, you're going to kick it off for us.
Yes, thank you, Patrick. And again, good morning, members of the committee and board. So I'm actually going to talk a little bit based on packet page 23, sorry, the staff report, and then I'll jump to the start of the presentation. But I just want to point out a little bit here that, this is more focused on obviously our media and our communications update. And so as we usually do, I'm going to cover most of our updates on, press releases and earned media coverage in the actual PowerPoint. So you might notice a little bit of a difference in the staff report. But I also want to point out here too that when we transition to Deanne to speak about social media, we'll be touching on the goals, the social media goals from 2020, and detailed right here are some of the baseline numbers from 2019 that she'll go into in her report. So with that, I will begin the presentation on packet page 26, please. Okay, so we'll start off with some of our communications activities, including our press releases. In the time period since the last report, we issued 2 press releases, one about the election of the board president and the various board roles, and as well as the district's honoring of Engineers Week, including mention of the proclamation. In addition, we updated our website with a news feature that showcases specific engineers on staff, again, in honor of Engineers Week. So moving on to the next packet page, which is 27, thank you very much. This is just a snapshot of those 2 press releases, and then the following slide, packet page 28, is the resulting media coverage. I just want to point out that as an attachment that we will not be going over are the actual news stories, so you can take a look at your leisure, but these are the headlines and the topics that are included in that packet attachment. So we've got a range of issues. Usually we just include print stories and whatnot, but I did include here a link to El Segundo TV's water rate video. It complements a news story further down in the list, talking about El Segundo setting its rates, and it was just produced by the city to outline kind of the process, and West Basin is mentioned as the wholesaler. We also are pleased to see coverage as a result of our announcements, including our Change and Save program from earlier in the year. You'll see coverage in the Sentinel about President Williams, as well as the Herald of El Segundo, covering again our water saving rebates Change and Save program. Also a nice feature to highlight when you have a chance, our contributing staff member Matt Vey produced an article that was featured in our California Special Districts magazine, a nice profile on our SoFi Stadium and some of our recycled water customers that came online during that time period. So moving one more page down to packet page 29, our media coverage continues. Again, some chamber news covering the elections, Daily Breeze promotion of our Recycle Water Tour, Culver City student focused on the art contest, and then again that story I mentioned about the water rates being set in El Segundo. And then as a side note, we've got some coverage in an Inland Empire outlet, but that was because it was mentioning both Directors Gray and Director Williams for their active role with the African American Water Association, the CAWF. So that's a snapshot of some of the media coverage that we're pleased to see, the positive news about our programs and hopefully driving participation in those programs. So moving along to packet page 30, here's just the highlight of that engineers profile that we mentioned during Engineers Week. And Deanne will kind of talk a little bit more about some of the social media profiles that we did for that as well. They had some nice touches in profiling our staff. Pause a little bit. If we can get to packet page 32, we'll talk about some forward-looking planning that we're doing. So we're excited. I think a lot of this will be covered. Well, Melissa already covered some of these topics, and I know Gus will be talking about this in terms of the conservation programs, but the marketing and the promotion of all of these, it's truly a collaboration across the teams. So we were excited to launch rain barrel home delivery program the day before it started raining, and it's nice to have a little bit of rain to promote this now. And I know that in Gus's item we'll showcase the animated video that we produced, but this is out there, and we're pleased with a lot of the assets and the announcements we were able to make. Similarly, we're planning to announce our spring water dates that Melissa mentioned, as well as the firescaping. We are in the works of producing our spring e-newsletter that we're hoping to get out in, we'll see, but April is the target date. And then on awards, I just want to provide just an update that we did submit to the water reuse award session that's coming up in the, let's see here, it's the 36th annual Water Reuse Symposium, with a water use awards announcement expected. Well, that session's from March 15th through the 25th, but that first week, we hope to hear back on our submission regarding an application about SoFi Stadium. So we'll have a press release ready to go in the event of that, as well as planning for our annual advertisement campaign. And that's a separate item that Deanne will cover after we move on from this item. So I will pause for questions, and I see Deanne's already queued up to take over and talk about social media, but if I can answer anything, please let me know.
Okay, so stay there for a moment, if you would, Amy. So any questions, colleagues? Okay, I did have one thing is, I don't think the board is getting copies of the press releases when they go out. So if you all could please send those to us, because that's how it used to be, and I'm not seeing any of those anymore. I'm only seeing them when they're posted on our website or when they do get out into the press. So if you all could Pat could send the copy to the board as it's being released, that would be very nice.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I thought we were sending them to you. I'll check into that.
I have not seen them, so, you know, but please make a note of that. Okay,
Duly noted.
thank you, Amy, for your good, thorough report, and we'll move forward with Deanne.
Thank you, Amy, and good morning, members of the board and committee. During my segment of the media report, I'll be doing the usual overview of the district's social media highlights by platform. But this month, I'll also be starting off with a recap of where we landed with the district's social media goals outlined for 2020, beginning on packet page 34. Last year, West Basin began implementation of its social media strategic plan, and the plan outlined the following 12-month goals for the calendar year 2020, based on metrics from the 2019 baseline. So as you can see here, we recognize that 2019 was an exciting and unusually active year for the district, but it did help us guide in developing these goals. So the first goal was audience growth, which asked the question of how many followers does West Basin have? And the goal was to increase new followers across all active platforms by a minimum of 25%. So from 3,849 followers to 4,811. So while we nearly reached the goal of gaining 962 followers with a gain of about 570 followers, we still needed a little under 400 more followers to reach the goal. And as we work to update these goals, we've examined trends as to when the district gained its followers, which we've noticed have been basically when other organizations tag West Basin or when other organizations share or repost our content. So some of the efforts that we're making now to kind of see this change is we're sharing our information ahead of time with other organizations, and then we are being other organizations are letting us know when they plan to tag us in their posts in the future. So for the next goal is reach and impressions, which asks the question, how many people have seen West Basin's posts? The goal was to increase the amount of people that have seen West Basin's posts by a minimum of 100%. So that's from 556,500 to 1,113,000. So we didn't quite meet the marker here either, as we missed by a little over 300,000, but we still saw a pretty good increase of over 250,000. And that's also where we learned that a lot of our impressions come from boosted posts and paid social media ads. So now we're exploring ways to enhance our social media advertising efforts. And for the last goal we have here is engagement, which asks the question of how many people have liked, commented, and or shared West Basin's content. The goal here was to increase likes, comments, reposts, and shares by a minimum of 50%. So from 23,600 to 35,400. We actually saw a dip here in engagement, which could be a result of a number of things. A decrease in a lot of the district's most engaging activity that we saw when we developed this plan, which were traditional efforts such as in-person outreach and events, and also social media or digital fatigue. Sometimes people just prefer to scroll. But one thing that we did notice, which isn't necessarily accounted for as engagement, but we saw success in link clicks. The audience may not like, share, or comment on a post, but they may click a link in the post to visit West Basin's website, in which we actually saw a 234% increase from the previous year. In 2019, we had about 1,400 link clicks, and in 2020, we had over 4,500 link clicks, which is ultimately the goal beyond social media to drive to our content on our website. So that may have resulted in either just reading our website content or signing up for a class, but definitely we saw that increase, and it's pretty significant to actually reading and clicking through to our content. So while we do recognize that this could be due to like a decrease in a lot of the engaging activity we saw when we were developing this plan, we do see this as an opportunity to see what may have been the most engaging as we shifted away from traditional efforts, such as in-person outreach and events. And when we work on developing new goals, we're now going to take a look at which content received the most engagement within the year and use that as a foundation for developing similar engaging content by platform. So we do recognize that, some of the most engaging content on Facebook or Instagram may not have fared as well on Twitter. So taking a platform-specific approach to engagement efforts moving forward. So while we acknowledge that we fell short of reaching our set goals during this first attempt of rolling out the pilot plan during this unusual year, we're taking it as a valuable learning opportunity to fine-tune and make improvements with the insights of how our audience is choosing to consume and or engage with our content. Overall, the social media strategic plan serves as a great tool, and we're proactively working to identify enhancements and modifications, such as the district's recent use of including more video content. And the board can anticipate an update on these goals mid-year and will continue to strive to meet these baseline goals. If there are any comments or questions about the 2020 goals, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll proceed with sharing the highlights from the past month.
Any comments or questions, directors? I'll just say really fast. First of all, these are pretty commendable, and we all know how difficult it is dealing with social media and its ups and downs and all the different platforms. And so, and there's a chunk of this that's always beyond your control because they keep changing the algorithms, you know, so that the way things show up in feeds and so on and so forth. But there is something to be said for a lot of people do not necessarily quote like things, but they'll click on links, like you said. They're as long as they're getting driven to the right place, like the website, that really helps. And yes, you know, a lot of people, there probably is this fatigue that they don't comment or certain things. So I think we all would recognize that, but to see overall these numbers is really good, and I would commend staff for it. I wouldn't beat ourselves up over it. We put up some lofty goals. You did quite well going toward them. And maybe that would be something you always maintain, is if we have to boost things and look at that as your budget, as we've also probably scaled back some of the print advertising that can be pushed into the social media for the right programming. So that's just a thought. But again, it's the algorithms that keep changing, and it kind of messes us up. You know, that's just, it is what it is. I don't even see half the stuff in my Facebook feed anymore from people in my network because Facebook makes decisions on what I see. And then I'm seeing things are 2 and 3 and 5 days old now. I'm like, okay, I missed that, you know? So anyway, just a comment, but thank you, Deanne. Very good work. Very good work.
Director Houston?
Oh, yes. Director Gray.
Yeah, I want to echo to Deanne. These are very impressive reports. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Elisa.
Okay, moving on to the social media highlights on packet page 35. We wanted to highlight that February was Black History Month and Engineers Week, which was the last week in February. And the district did multiple posts for both, and some examples of that content is what you see here. That first post, you'll see one of the first Black History Month posts highlighting Black history throughout the South Bay. And then we also did additional posts recognizing the contributions of local organizations in our industry and service area. We included the California African American Water Education, and then Social Justice Learning Institute, as well as the Los Angeles Council of Black Professional Engineers. And then we also included a quote from President Williams reflecting on his contributions and the other contributions of other Black engineers. So it's a crossover of Black History Month and Engineers Week. And then the second post you see here is just the generic Engineers Week post. And then we also did an entire week of postings where we introduced some of our engineers in a Meet Our Engineers web news story that Amy showed earlier in the presentation. We also did a President's Message that, like I mentioned, that was kind of a hybrid of Black History Month and Engineers Week. We also did a Throwback Thursday to the water industry careers that Janelle covered earlier. And then that Friday, we closed out Engineers Week with a short Instagram video, a little reel where we kind of highlighted some additional engineers. Moving on to packet page 36, showing some of our Twitter highlights. The district Twitter page earned over 3,000 impressions and continues to see an increase in followers. And the highlight was announcing Director Williams as board president. On packet page 37, showcasing the district's Facebook page highlights. The most popular post was announcing Water Lab's winter session webinar, the Water Supply Diversity, just some promotion for that. And then also highlighting that we did see some more increases in impressions and link clicks. Moving on to packet page 38. Similar to Facebook, the district Instagram page also continues to see gradual increases in impressions and engagement with our posts. And the most popular post was the district reposting the Southern California Water Coalition's post recognizing Director Gray for Black History Month. And finally, on packet page 39, The district's LinkedIn page continues to see an increase in followers, and the most popular post was the Black History Month post, recognizing the contributions of organizations in our community, which we also tagged these organizations in some of our social media platforms. And that concludes my media report, and if there are any questions at this time, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, any questions from my colleagues? No, Director Deere. Okay, Director Gray?
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead. Okay, thank you. And thank you, Deanna. Very, very good report. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Patrick, looks like, are we on item, is it D as in dog, I think?
Yes, you don't often refer to me as Patrick, usually Pat, but
Okay.
that was a great report, Deanne and Amy. Thank you for that. So yeah, we have something a little bit different here. This is the Earth Month Advertising and Outreach Plan, since it's coming up in the month of April. And again, Deanne is staying on camera here to lead us off on this one, Deanne.
Thank you, Patrick. Today I'll be providing, sorry, I have my dog in the background. Today I'll be providing an update on the district's annual advertising campaign that we budget for each year. Each year, West Basin develops an ad to place in various media outlets throughout the district service area to promote the district's accomplishments and programs available to residents and businesses. For the past few years, the district has centered this ad buy campaign around April's Earth Day, which is April 22nd, with the exception of 2019, in which we launched the campaign on World Water Day on March 22nd, in conjunction with the launch of West Basin's Water for Tomorrow messaging. This year, staff plans to pursue Earth Day timing again in both print and online media outlets, similar to last year. While this year, the ad format will be focused less on graphics and more on messaging, as we look to provide relevant information on the district's programs in a half-page editorial or news story format. A list of the district's proposed publications for 2021 are included as attachment A on packet page 61, along with a list of 2020's publications on packet page 62. A mock layout of the new ad format is also included as attachment B on packet page 64. The article and accompanying graphics will highlight West Basin programs that help save water, money, and the earth. And you'll notice in the proposed publications list on packet page 61 that staff has worked to keep a balance across all 5 divisions and has proposed outlets with higher circulation in the target areas. If there is any feedback on the mock layout or the list of proposed publications, we ask that the board work with the Office of the General Manager to provide feedback by Thursday, March 18th, so that staff can work to meet the deadlines of each publication. In addition to the Earth Month advertising campaign, West Basin staff will share this information across its platforms and will explore opportunities to participate in any virtual community outreach activities throughout the service area. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Any questions? Is that Director Gray I hear?
Yes, thank you. You can hear me.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Deanne, for the report. I just want to refer to page 61. I didn't see any digital ad type in District 2 except the Daily Breeze. Can you pursue some other means of digital advertisement there? I know you have Inglewood Today and you got the Sentinel, but I think it would be helpful to have some kind of ad digitally in my largest service area, which is Inglewood.
Absolutely.
Is
We
there?
will look into
Thank you. I
We will
really appreciate it.
But also, I do want to make a note that we were considering some of these things as well, but we some of these publications are also offered online as well, so that they have a digital version. So just to keep that in mind too, that some of these publications are digital and print publications.
Yeah, you're right, because Inglewood Today, I think, is online, right?
Yes, they are also online. So you can actually read the print publication online.
So because this says print, it will be digital also, right? Yeah, so maybe you should put print digital there. So what about the Sentinel is online too, right?
Correct. I'll make sure I can make a note of that.
Yeah, okay. What about Pace News? Are they online?
I'll double
They
check, but I
are.
think they put their print publications online. So I'll make sure that the ones that do have their print publications online as well, that they're also listed for that.
Great, that would be perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Director Houston.
No problem. Deanna, I do have a couple questions. So I do see from the list, that's why I was looking at these and I was kind of confused, but I see, so you have last year's 2020 final list, and then you have a proposed 2021 list, which not, they don't match, of course. So obviously there must be thoughts on why you're not pursuing certain outlets. Just for example, like the WeHo Times is in there from last year, but not this year. I mean, is there a reason?
Absolutely. So we wanted to make sure that we were taking a look at just being balanced across all divisions. I know that some of them we had a couple of them that were, I guess maybe we would have 2 in West Hollywood or 2 in Culver City or 3 in Culver City for that matter. We just kind of wanted to make sure that we were spending our dollars more efficiently and making sure that we had the maximum reach. But then also there are other outlets such as was the Messenger Mountain News that is no longer. So some of those publications from last year are not included this year.
Right. No, and I understand the Messenger Mountain News is gone, but yeah, now you have Topanga New Times. But I really think you need to look at every outlet potentially in these communities, because they're all geared to different audiences, right? There's some people read the Sentinel, but they don't read something else, and vice versa. So the same in West Hollywood or Malibu, there's a Surfside News, there's a Malibu Times. And in Topanga, I think we just have the Topanga New Times. So I would just ask you guys, look back at that. And in West Hollywood, you've got, yes, WeHoville, but WeHo Times, I think, is still going. And probably in the big picture, these are not that expensive relative to something that dropped off that doesn't exist anymore. You're shuffling it around. So I really would ask you guys, please relook at the list. Yes, we're trying to be equitable. At the same time, some of the communities have a lot of outlets and some don't hardly have any, right? I mean, El Segundo, we have 1, the Herald. But then you go to Culver City and they've got 3 or 4. I also echo what Director Gray said, that, hopefully most of these, if they're in print, they're also in digital. Like the Malibu Times, they still do a print publication. So I hope you'll have a print ad. And then of course they'll do a digital component, I'm assuming. So I hope.
Okay. Sure, we will make sure that we take a look at this list, revisit it, and work with the Office of the General Manager to find out what's in.
Okay, and then one last question, and I'm just, this is one I didn't look through this prior to the meeting, this particular item, but I see this sample. I'm confused at the sample. Is it more of an advertorial, or what is this thing that's included? Can you guys put on the screen so at least we see this? Because I don't understand what we're doing this year, I guess.
We're doing an advertorial format this year, so it is more content heavy, and it is going to have more of the look and feel of an actual news article. So we're providing more messaging, more information this year as opposed to just graphics. Okay,
so I guess like next month, or do we get to see what the sample is or what you're coming up with? Is that accurate?
Yes, next month we will bring the actual draft of the advertorial to you.
Okay, so sounds good. Now what I would say, and I know you mentioned something about a deadline for the board, so obviously 2 directors are not here today, but what the Office of General Manager should do is probably send us an email that asks for the board to provide feedback on whatever you need by I think you said March, what was it, 18th or something?
Yes, 1 week from today.
Okay, so we obviously need to see that so the board members can each look over it timely manner and send it back to you guys. So that would be first. And then second, of course, we'll be looking forward to seeing the sample of the advertorial so we can, have time to review it and give you guys good feedback.
Sure. We'll also work with the Office of the General Manager to make sure that you all get to that.
Perfect. Because I will say this much, sometimes, things get sent to us, and there's not a second email or reminder. And so I have no idea sometimes if things slip through my cracks over here, but the other colleagues may be the same story. So, I'd also say to staff, when you send something to the board, if you don't hear back, you probably better send reminders, or at least to the director you didn't hear from, because it does get lost in my inbox. And sometimes we're getting these emails at night, like at, 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. And then in the morning, I mean, that thing's at the bottom. So, if y'all would please be cognizant of that, that would be really appreciated.
Just so I'm clear, Director Houston, you don't want emails after a certain hour?
Well, I didn't say that. What I said is I prefer emails to come in at reasonable hours so that, we see them. But if they come in at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, unless it's some emergency or something, most of us are not going to be seeing that email until maybe tomorrow, and it's buried with all the new stuff. So that's just for my opinion, but I would really like to see emails that are coming through during work hours. That's the most ideal time. And that's the way things have traditionally been done, but that's changed a lot. So please be cognizant of that. But thank you, Deanne. This is good, and I'm glad that you guys looked at this and bring us back the lists, so we can look at those with the board members. How are we going to send them out to us or what have you? Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's move to the next item, Pat.
Yeah, thank you. And you were right on cue with that last item when you said item 6D, D as in dog, and Deanne's dog obliged with some accompaniment there. That was very nice, Deanne. That would go to item 6E, which is our conservation program update. And we have Mr. Gus Mesa, our Senior Water Policy and Resources Analyst, accompanied by, for the first leg of this, and hi Gus, and Jennifer Vasquez, our Water Policy and Resources Analyst too, will do the second component of this. Gus, can you please take it away?
Hello. Yes, thank you, Patrick. And good afternoon, Director Houston, committee and board members. I have a few updates on our water efficiency programs, and then I'll be handing this over to Jennifer Vasquez for her updates. The first update is on our Change and Save program, which is shown on board packet page 65 under the program highlights section. At last month's committee meeting, staff mentioned that we have relaunched our Change and Save program. Our public information team, the South Bay Environmental Services Center, and our consultant, Allegra Consulting, are currently promoting the program using a variety of strategies such as social media, emails, phone calls, websites, and postcards. And as of this week, we have completed 150 online water efficiency surveys and mailed out 126 conservation kits, and 103 residents have received the $500 clothes washer rebate. As part of the program, Allegra Consulting is working with staff to host several webinars for residents. The dates and times of these short 30-minute webinars are shown at the top of page 66. As you can see, the next residential webinar is on March 24th at 6 p.m. And these webinars provide a great opportunity to assist residents with registering for the program and also answering any questions they may have about the $500 washer rebates or the kits themselves. Also, last month, on February 25th, we conducted a webinar. We coordinated with the South Bay Center and Allegra Consulting. The South Bay Center hosted the water efficiency workshop. This was geared and targeted to our cities and water retailers. We wanted to inform them about several of our programs, which included our Change and Save program, Cash for Kitchens, and our new Rain Barrel Home Delivery Pilot program. We had about 13 representatives from the water retailers, staff, and cities, so it's very successful. And we, as a follow-up, we also provided them with marketing materials so they could help us to promote the program. So I do want to thank our board members and our general manager, of course, for your support of these programs, these community programs. They're a great help to our communities and residents. And at this time, I could take some questions before I move on.
Sure. Any questions? No, I don't hear any, Gus. So go ahead.
Okay, thank you. The next update is on our Malibu Smart Topanga Smart program, shown on page 66. This program is 94% complete, and the grant is set to expire. The funding grant is set to expire this July 31st. Over the next several months, the partners, the City of Malibu and LA County Water Works District 29, We'll be promoting the rebates through social media, websites, emails, and postcards. We will also be working with our partners and our consultant, R.W. Jones, to develop a lessons learned report. As you know, this program has had a few challenges with the Woolsey fire and COVID. And so we all think this, having this report to showcase what worked, what didn't work. I do think we had a lot of successes with this program. We had a lot of innovative ideas and strategies to reach the Malibu and Topanga residents. So we'll be working on that lessons learned over the next few months. We are also working with our partners to schedule a firescaping webinar for Malibu and Topanga this fall in September, as Melissa mentioned earlier in her report. So this time I could take any questions you may have before moving on.
Okay, any questions? Okay, just one comment. Yes, that has been a terrible year for Malibu and Topanga. So a couple of years, it's been really a hard time to have that program, but it's been fairly successful. So keep it up.
Great, thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So my last, this is not my last program, but I do want to, before I get to the Rain Barrel program, I do want to talk about the PV firescaping webinar that's shown on page 66 and 67 of your packet. This webinar, as Melissa had mentioned, is scheduled for April 21st at 6 p.m. during Earth Month. The marketing materials are currently being developed by our Public Information Department. We're working closely with California Water Service. They're the water retailer for the Palos Verdes area, and also the South Bay Environmental Services Center. They'll be assisting us with promoting this program. Cal Water has they have some contacts with the local fire department, and then which is going to be very helpful to invite them and get more information about what they're doing. And then also the instructor, Doug Kent, he's conducting some research in the 4 cities there, researching what type of ordinances they have dealing with firescaping. So that way we're all very informed when we put on the webinar. It'll be more beneficial, and it'll provide more information to the residents that attend that webinar. We also did reach out to Charles Gale, as was requested, and he is very happy to help us get the word out. So once we have those marketing materials, we'll provide them to Charles Gale as well to help us promote it. So our next steps is to continue planning, and we'll be marketing the program. Melissa is leading our efforts with this webinar. So we're having regular meetings, and everything is looking great for that webinar on April 21st. So are there any questions?
Any questions? Okay, Gus.
Okay, thank you. My last program to cover is our new Rain Barrel home delivery pilot program shown on page 67. The team has done a lot of great work to develop this program, a lot of hard work. I do want to thank Deanne and Matt and team in our Public Information Department for creating the landing page on our website. Residents can go there now to learn about this program. They can access the installation instructions, the painted rain barrel instructions. They can view the animated video, which I'm going to show here in a second, and they can click on the registration button, which sends them over to the South Bay Environmental Services Center registration process. So all that has been set up and is working very well. To date, we have 147 registrations throughout all the divisions. And so we're off to a very good start. The rain barrels have been ordered, and they'll be delivered next Tuesday of next week. And so the next steps will be the South Bay Center will be sending over those vetted residents that qualify over to the delivery company to schedule deliveries. And then the South Bay will stay in communication with residents, letting them know when their which day their rain barrel will be delivered. So everything is looking very good. Our PI team did a great job in creating with the animation video. to help the program. So I do want to give credit to Michael Calabria, Matt Vey, and team. So if it's okay with the committee, I would like to go ahead and queue up the video here and ask Haza if she can go ahead and run it, if it's okay with the committee.
Yes, thank you.
Great, thank you. Great, thank you. As you can see, we wanted to keep it very lively and fun. Director Houston, that is my last item. Are there any questions on the Rain Barrel program?
Okay, great, thank you. It's a very cute video, and it kind of explains in a very short time what exactly a rain barrel is and how it works. Really easy, right in your face. So no, thank you for that, staff. Let me open up to questions from my colleagues. Did I hear Director Gray? I heard something. Maybe. Director Deere, I see you have your mic on. Go ahead.
Yeah, the rain barrel program, I was wondering about how many, or who delivers these rain barrels? Do we have a consultant? Do we have a staff does it, or what? How does that work?
Yes, Director Deere. We went out to RFP and we hired a local company called PackTrack. They're in El Monte, so they're within our radius for a local business, small business. So they had the best price and they provide the best program. And so they're all set to the rain barrels are being shipped to them next week, and they'll be scheduling, and so they'll be delivering the rain barrels. The PackTrack staff there.
Thank you.
You're
That's
welcome.
Okay, great. Is Director Gray available? Any questions? I don't hear her, but let's see, a couple of things really fast, Gus. So yes, I was going to ask how many RSVPs we had. So right now about 147, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
147, and we're giving out 1,000 rain barrels. So, it won't be long till I expect we'll be at 200 already. You might not have the information in front of you, but where are these folks coming from approximately? Are they concentrated in any particular areas of our service area?
I do have some numbers here, Director Houston. You're right, 147 total registration, so a total of 231 rain barrels, because some people get one, some people get two rain barrels. Division-wise, Division 1, we have 66 registrations. Division 2, we have 7. Division 3, we have 36. Division 4, we have 27. And Division 5, we have 11 registrations.
Okay, great. I think what I would ask is if you all maybe like once a week or so as the numbers come in, just send it to the board so we know, so we can kind of track it. Because I do know you're trying to be as equitable as possible for the divisions. I get that. So it'd be good to know, how we need to, ramp up and then when we de-escalate. And for me, I haven't gotten it, but I would like, as always, the email, the materials, if someone can send me the graphics and such, so I could share it appropriately, and I'll send it out to folks on my network. I think it's a great program. And by the way, I just saw it this morning in the El Segundo Herald. I saw the little the write-up on it that you guys obviously put out. So a lot of these things hit on Thursday, so I'm sure that you hopefully will get a lot of response out of today, starting to pick up.
Yes, will do, Director Houston. Yeah, I forgot to mention we did see it also in the Malibu Times and in the Beach Reporter as well.
Oh, good.
So it's being picked up. So that's great news.
Good. And I also saw on social media, for example, I think the city of West Hollywood used your video, and I don't know if Malibu did, but I've seen it getting out there, which is great. So I love that you guys are working with the city staffs to do that and cross promote. And maybe just remind them to ping it a little more here and there, strategically, of course. And then, then you'll know to tell them, hey, we're good, don't do it anymore. Because once you know it's closing, we don't need to promote it anymore on that note, right? Just,
Yes.
And lastly, though, if you guys could get me those graphics later today, I would like that,
Okay. We'll do, Director Houston. We'll get those to board services.
That'd be great. Okay, cool.
I'm gonna go. Oh, sorry.
I'd like to see it very successful. I have talked to just a few people since I saw it launch, and they are excited about it. So, I think it'll do well in the midst of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So, cool.
Great.
Okay, thank you. All right, go ahead to the next item.
I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Jennifer Vasquez. Thank you.
Thank you, Gus.
Great, thank you so much. It is hard to follow up such a great video, but good afternoon, Director Houston and members of the committee and board. I will begin my update at the bottom of board packet page 68 within the grass replacement rebate section. So staff has included the rebate application table in the middle portion of packet page 68. And again, these totals begin in the fiscal year with applications received from July 1st, 2020. A total of 6 applications were received in the month of February, reaching a total of 52 total applications received this fiscal year. And so that's very exciting news. As of January 2021, West Basin was billed for completed projects through the Metropolitan monthly invoice in the amount totaling $91,560, which is a slight update from what you're seeing in the current board packet due to the timing again. And as mentioned before, although application levels are returning to normal, West Basin experienced increased interest in the residential grass replacement rebate program between August through October 2020. And so we anticipate this interest will continue in the spring months and have identified additional funding to shift within the existing conservation budget to help ensure that the program remains funded at the $3 per square foot amount leading into the new fiscal year. We will be meeting with the finance department later today actually to discuss additional details, and we will have more for the board at that time. Right below the application table, staff has also included a summary image of the Metropolitan Conservation Activity as updated in the January joint meeting of the Water Planning and Stewardship Committee, and also it's a joint meeting with the Local Resources Committee, as you know. Moving into the grass replacement class section right below on page 68, Metropolitan continues to offer the 3 online class webinar topics listed within the board packet. I did want to call out an updated version of the existing turf removal and garden transformation webinar. We actually did notice that they integrated information on removing turf without the use of chemicals, replacing it with climate appropriate plantings, or keeping it in place while maintaining it with organic matter, which was quite a bit an update to that class. It seems that they're developing additional details for that class as residents attend, which is good to see that they're shifting as residents are requesting for either additional information or more content regarding a particular topic. Class dates are listed for March 2021 in the look ahead calendar on page 71. And West Basin will continue promoting these classes through the California Friendly Plants campaign introduced by Metropolitan. So I will take a brief pause for any questions regarding these grass replacement program updates before I move on to the Cash for Kitchens program.
Okay, any questions? Okay, go ahead, Jennifer.
Thank you so much. Moving into the Cash for Kitchens program updates, beginning on board packet page 69, West Basin staff is collaborating with the program partners, again, that's Green Media Creations and the South Bay Cities Council of Governments, We finalized the Cash for Kitchens website, available for water efficiency surveys, installation resources, and confirmation of mailed water efficiency devices in the month of February. GMC, or Green Media, produced the first how-to video that will be used to support the installation of pre-rinse spray valves as they arrive to restaurants and commercial kitchens. Green Media is finalizing the edits to an additional how-to video for sink flow restrictors this week, and this is great content that we can live on the West Basin website to assist these restaurants. Staff is actually very happy to report that restaurants are quite responsive to our program, considering the challenges that this sector has experienced. There are 30 new survey leads that have expressed interest also in continuing and completing the water efficiency survey included in the Cash for Kitchens program. And there is also additional interest in the ice machine rebate, which through this initial outreach of the program. A total of 86 past participant sites were contacted to receive their free water efficiency package, which again includes pre-rinse spray valves, sink flow restrictors, educational materials, and actually a window cling if they are a restaurant that they can place on their window in the month of February. So 86 past participants were given the opportunity to start receiving that package, those packages including those items. Staff has had an opportunity to engage staff of local cities, water retailers, and other partners to promote the Cash for Kitchens program at the event, which occurred on Thursday, February 25th. Gus provided a wonderful overview of what that program event was like. And this event, again, created a great opportunity for staff to connect with cities and retail agencies for ongoing promotion of the Cash for Kitchens program. And we're still developing additional actions for following that event. And lastly, for the Ocean Friendly Gardens section, beginning on board packet page 70, West Basin staff continues to work with Swayzer Landscapes to identify any additional maintenance visits that may be needed. West Basin staff completed the 6-week training webinar series for current city and school staff managing and maintaining ocean-friendly gardens, with a full list of the topics covered below. So these training videos are now available for direct use on the West Basin website and provide lasting information for ocean-friendly gardens, but also climate-appropriate gardens across our service area. So this content can also be used by our residents. It provides classes that include mulching, as you can see from the list below, when to schedule your maintenance visits, when to plan ahead for your ocean-friendly garden, but also, like I said, information that can be applied for climate-appropriate gardens in general. So our team hopes to maximize this content in our updated district website in collaboration with the PI team. And that is my last update. I'm happy to take any questions you may have, and thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. A lot going on. So any questions from my colleagues? Okay, and before we move to the next item, I do have a question, probably more for Gus. I forgot to ask on rain barrels. I don't know if Gus is still there or not. Hey, Gus.
Hey.
I had a question yesterday. Hey, I had a question yesterday from somebody. Apartment complexes, if they have the infrastructure, are they eligible for the rain barrel? I have no idea the answer to that question.
Well, we're targeting single-family homes that have rain gutters. But I know it's commercial properties, that would be different. Apartment buildings. I know one thing they have to submit is a utility bill that they live there. So it sounds like that would qualify, showing that they live there. But I'm going to follow up on that with MWD just to make sure that we get reimbursed if we have an apartment building show up, so we can get that information back to Board Services, Director Houston.
That would be great, because obviously in a lot of our cities, we do have multi-units, and someone asked me yesterday if, like they live in an apartment, if the owner of the building would be eligible or not, because they do have a common space, but I have no idea, if they have a gutter system or what, but they thought it would be a great, potential thing for the residents. But again, I said, well, I'll find out. So yeah, if you guys could send that, because it'd be good to know, and or if it's not this year, another year, but I just didn't know if a multi-unit building qualifies, so.
Okay, yes, I'll confirm with MWD and get that information to board services.
Nice, okay, thank you, Gus.
You're welcome.
Any last questions for Jennifer or Gus? Okay, looks like you two are off the hook, so thank you very much. Let's see, I think we're on the last item, I believe, item F, as in Frank.
That is correct, and I agree. Jennifer and Gus Mace's presentations were off the hook. They're really good. So our final one is the water bottle filling station update for February 2021. And we have our water policy and resource analyst too, Tammy Hirlahai, who I hear, hi Tammy, is going to give us this presentation.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you, Patrick, and good afternoon, Director Houston and board directors. This item is to provide an update on the water bottle filling station. And as you are aware, throughout the past few years, several agencies have submitted funding applications for these stations, which has made it one of the more popular programs that West Basin has to offer. And since March 2020, when the pandemic began, mandatory facility closures and strict county protocols have brought much of the activity for the program to a halt. However, West Basin staff has collaborated in marketing the program by utilizing creativity to further promote this funding opportunity for public agencies. And details of the program have been a newsletter developed by the Public Information and Education team. Also, our general manager has included this item in his regular communications with city managers with details of the program and how to access the funding. So today's presentation will provide an overview on activities within the past 3 years. And this report will show program applicants during fiscal years 2018-19, followed by fiscal year 2019-20, and then where we're at now currently with the program. So first we'll start with slide 3 on page 86 of the packet. And on slide 3, this is a list of the agencies that have submitted applications during the fiscal year 18-19. Most agencies have completed construction of installing their units. However, there are a few that have not yet been installed, and primarily due to scheduling issues on their end. And for those stations that have not yet been confirmed as being installed, I can provide a status update. So with regard to the application from the City of Rolling Hills Estates, I've been in contact with their staff and they have indicated delays on their end. They do have 2 outdoor units on order and are currently awaiting the delivery, and then followed by installation and construction. They have asked that we follow up with them again in a couple of months to check in on the status of their construction. So the next station needing to be confirmed is with the City of Lomita, and the location for their second station changed from the original location that was indicated on their application. At this time, it has not been confirmed that the other station has been installed yet or not. However, their staff is checking with others at their agency regarding the status. So we will continue to follow up on this. Although most agencies have completed construction with installation of their station, their facilities have been closed to the public due to COVID-19 protocols, and they are unable to schedule any photo opportunities at this time. So this particular part of the program to arrange group photos is on hold due to these restrictions. Next, we'll take a look at fiscal year 2019-20 and the program applicants. So on slide 5 and page 88 of the packet, it shows a list of applicants and whether or not their station installations have been completed. So we have reached out to these agencies to check in on their construction status, and some have been closed due to COVID-19. On this slide, I will provide a brief update on the locations indicating to be confirmed. So for the unit listed here that needed to be confirmed, first is Palos Verdes Peninsula Unified School District. So their 2 stations have been installed. We have confirmed that. And for St. Philomena, staff has been unable to confirm whether or not installation has been completed. we will continue to follow up on this location. The next application on this list indicating not installed is the City of Redondo Beach. I have been in contact with them and they have informed me that construction is underway for that unit. For Leadership Manhattan Beach, they needed to rescind their application and will not be pursuing this effort. With regard to the Culver City Schools, I have been in contact with their maintenance and operations director, and he has informed me that construction is underway. They've had many activities on hold for the past several months due to facility closures in response to the pandemic. And then next for the City of El Segundo, I have been in contact with their facility maintenance supervisor, and he has informed me that one unit is under construction and the other unit is back ordered. And then lastly, for the LA Unified School District, at the time this report was submitted, there were some challenges in connecting with staff due to the school closures. However, we have been able to confirm that yes, the stations are indeed installed. So for those that have completed construction, their facilities are closed to the public and are unable to schedule photo opportunities at this time. Moving forward, slide 6. We have showing here that we coordinated signage production. And this slide shows a list of signs that have been recently mailed to be affixed on the stations. And then next on slide 8, it indicates the application that we've received so far from the City of Lawndale. And their proposed location is at the Lawndale Community Center. Due to the current COVID restrictions, the timeline is currently unknown. However, a 6-month project completion is desirable. So right now they're requesting $1,000 for an indoor unit. Additionally, we have an update that we have received a new application from the City of Malibu. They submitted their application last Monday on March 9th. And their proposed location will be at the Malibu Bluffs Park with intention to install the station by the end of this calendar year. So for these two applications, we are currently reviewing to ensure that all necessary paperwork is included. And as I mentioned earlier, staff has been successful in promoting this program. We've also worked with the South Bay Council of Government to include mention of the program in the winter edition of the quarterly newsletter. We appreciate their work on this article for inclusion on the newsletter. They did a great job. And if you would like a copy of this, please let me know and we can provide it to you. So overall, between West Basin staff and the South Bay COG, this has truly been a collective effort in promoting the program. And then lastly, for slide 9, this is the budget indicator for the program. And so moving forward, updates will continue to be provided on a monthly basis. And this budget table will be updated as new applications are received and approved. So that concludes this report, and I would be happy to address any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Tammy. And I'll open the floor to my colleagues. Any questions? Director Deere says no. Director Gray?
No, thank you. Thank you.
Great. I just had one question, Tammy, was on this, on the slide from page 6, it said, or page 89, I guess, from the packet, it says signage, I guess, was mailed to the City of Malibu for Bluffs Park. Now, is that the one that they had already done? Because you mentioned now there's a new application that came in, and I don't see Malibu on the 2 other rosters from previous years.
Correct. Yeah, that is a good question. So we did mail signage that was from a station that was already installed earlier on, I believe on the fiscal year 17-18 timeframe. All right, so it was installed a long time ago. They did send me a photo of the station that's been installed, completed. So that's what that signage was for. Interestingly enough, they were very excited to hear that we were continuing the program. They have their folks designing a new park. They're going to do a skate park. And so they want to add another one. It'll be in between the baseball field and in the skate park.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So then so I see it was the 17-18 fiscal year. Got it.
Correct.
So hopefully when life is a little back to normal, we'll do a photo op up there at some point too on the current one. Just You don't have to keep it on the chart for me, but yeah. And then lastly, so unfortunately, we don't really have, except, well, you just said there's 2 that just came in, but otherwise, we really haven't awarded anybody. We've been in this fiscal year, understandably so. You know, I don't know how many will get out by the end of the fiscal year, but I do also know that it's not easy, and we've hit a lot of spots already. So, you know, I guess we'll see how it goes through the rest of the fiscal year. But for sure, I think we should keep the program, you know, for review in our budget for next fiscal year. And or maybe the money that's not used gets rolled over. I don't know, but these are policy decisions we'll make. Anyway, what is it? It's March, so April, May, June. I mean, it's just a couple, 3 months that people can get their stuff in. But staff, don't get me wrong, I understand it's not exactly easy because, you know, there's lots of agencies, organizations, and you're trying to pull these teeth to figure out where can I put one of these things, and they have all kinds of constraints on them. So just be, you know, I'm very realistic about what we can get accomplished before the end of the fiscal year. Okay.
Great.
Thank you for the report. It was very thorough, Tammy. Appreciate that. Okay. We will move on. I see I don't think we have any closed session today.
Director Houston, we do not have any closed session today. That's correct.
Okay. And then the last item here is director's comments or future agenda items. Director Deere? No comment? Okay. Director Gray?
Oh, just thank you to the staff today for the great reports. Thanks, staff.
Okay, great. And I would echo that. So thank you very much, staff. You know, it's a lot of work. You've done a great job. If you can get my requests answered that I did today, that'd be awesome. And also, I know at last month's meeting, I asked for all the grass replacement data from the last 2 years. I don't know if I ever got that email. And if I did, I missed it, so you can resend it. But I looked again before this meeting, and I don't think I've seen it. So please send that to me. And I appreciate that. And we missed our 2 other colleagues. So I'm just kind of looking through at the bottom. Oh, there's EJ. Did you have something, EJ?
Yes, Director Houston. In satisfying that request, we actually did pull a lot of the data from Metropolitan Water District's accessible data in the program. I guess our question was related to, it is a dense Excel spreadsheet with a lot of personal information from each applicant.
Okay.
And so the question would be, are you looking for, we can put together maps with all the applications, or you just want all of them?
I'll just, yeah, that way I don't want you to waste your time. No. Just like you give us these monthly, you know how you give that little synopsis of just the square footage, that's all I want. So whatever you've been tracking that you already provided the board, I just want the last 2 years or whatever when the program started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Excellent.
that's all. I just basically want that
clarification.
Yes. So, because I see Division 4 has been tracking really well, and I would just like to see the full package. That's what. So nothing too difficult.
We'll put that together. Thank you for the clarification.
You got it. Okay.
Director Houston, if I may.
Yes, Director Gray, go ahead.
Yeah, I know this is not the committee meeting we had yesterday, but I wanted to thank staff yesterday for their reports and so forth. I think I did not do that, so I want to focus on the line yesterday at the meetings. Thank you, staff, for your reports. So thank you, Director Houston.
Perfect. Good. So the next scheduled meeting for this committee will be April 8th, 2021. And I want to say again, thank you, staff. Excellent job. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.